team comes back onto the ground, led out by their captain, Wally Lewis. And what a moment for Brett Kenny. There's Wally Lewis. When he was here in 1982, he struggled to hold a place in the test side. But he comes back in 86 as the Kangaroo captain, the first Queensland captain on the Kangaroo Tour since 1937. Michael O'Connor, there's Big Gene Miles in picture. What a great moment it is for him back on his second Kangaroo Tour. A veteran now of 7 test matches, manager John Fleming and the reserves, Les Davidson and Terry Lamb. And there's Big Paul Sheridan making his first appearance on English soil. Royce Simmons, there's Ian Roberts at the other end of the field, a likely tourist earlier this season with his early season form where he reached the city second side but fell out of favour. But today he gets his chance to show his wares against the touring Kangaroos. So, the Riversiders, the magnificent team representing Wigan of Hampson, Bell, Stevenson, Lydon and Henderson Gill. Sean Edwards has moved to 5'8", with Michael Ford coming into half with Ellery Hanley, a late withdrawal from the side. They're packed, a very experienced one of Andy Goodway, Ian Potter, Ian Roberts, Brian Case, Martin Dermott and the big 6'5" Kiwi captain, Graham West. So the team to face them today, possibly a likely guide to the first test match at Old Trafford. The Australian side, Gary Jack makes his English debut this afternoon. Les Kiss, Brett Kenny, Gene Miles, Michael O'Connor, Wally Lewis at captain, Peter Sterling, and the forwards, Bob Lindner, also making an Australian debut on English soil, Paul Sirenen, Noel Cleal, and the very talented front row are Steve Roach, Royce Simmons, and Brian Niebling. A crowd of around about 30,000 as we looked at the man in charge, the 39-year-old referee from Leeds, John Holsworth, who refereed the Lancashire Cup final in 1985, which was in fact won by Wigan over Warrington. The toss of the coins between two arch rivals there, Wally Lewis and Graham West. Of course, Wally would remember Graham West back in 1983 when he led New Zealand to that historic win in Brisbane. But now he's a long-term contract player at Central Park and is regarded certainly as a native of Wigan, despite his Kiwi origin. So what an atmosphere to start the 1986 Kangaroo Tour, defending the undefeated record of 1982. And they couldn't come up with a better test of their courage and conviction as a pipe opener to their campaign here in 1986. So Australia will defend the goal line to our left. It will be Wigan to kick off. The crowd, as I mentioned, around the 30,000 mark. And the man to get play underway will be Joe Lydon, a £100,000 signing this year from Widnes. Referee John Holsworth blows time on in the first half, and the Kangaroo Tour is underway. And the first man to touch it for Australia is Peter Sterling. And there's a confidence boost for Bob Lindner, taking play outside the 22 before he's wrapped up by Brian Case and also by Ian Roberts. There's Roach, takes it up to the line of advantage, but a good solid tackle by Ian Potter. Simmons onto Niebling, takes play 10 metres outside the 22 at Australia's end of the ground. Simmons again for Lewis, watch for the kick, angling over the top. But the penalty has been ruled against the Australians offside. Wally Lewis questions the decision of referee Holsworth, but a chance for the first 2 points of the match with only a minute gone. Well, Benny, Wally's questioning that one, and I don't think you've really worked it out either.
No, I still can't see. Wally's scratching his head, so I don't think he knows either. But I think Stephen Roach at the moment will enjoy these conditions, you know, the rough physical contact, and I think Steve will go well.
Well, Wally's still shaking the head. But a chance for Henderson Gill to put Wigan in the lead. 21 goals and 10 tries so far in 86 for the Cherry and Whites. He has the ball placed 33 metres out, kicks with the left foot. It looks good, the crowd will tell the story, but it's waved away. And Gary Jack gets his first taste of the football and makes a valuable 20 metres, running it out of the danger area for Australia. Simmons pushes Sean Edwards out of the way. Now runs from dummy half, and a penalty this time goes against Wigan. And the man that was caught offside was Martin Dermott. the very talented young hooker from the Wigan club. So Wally Lewis will look for touch on the far side of Central Park, or the popular side as they like to call it over here, and he takes play in fact over the halfway line. So for the first time Australia are in Wigan's end of the ground. Niebling. Sirinen raises the right knee and he's driven to the ground. Solid defence by Wigan. Simmons now slips into dummy half again as Sirinen gets to his feet. Sterling, the Australian backs move into action. Lewis, lovely pass back in for Cleal, then for Roach. He's got the support of Niebling. Jack's in the line. Gary Jack. Michael O'Connor. And it's a try to Australia, but no try. Ryan Niebling looks in disgust. Gee, it looked okay from here, Benny.
It did look all right. I'm surprised what the ruling will be.
Or has it been awarded? In fact, the try has been awarded. Well, the crowd still haven't warmed to it. But here it comes. A brilliant run by Gary Jack. Actually, Roach did very well here as well. Cleal was the one that tidied it up. There's Big Steve Roach, the long pass now. Niebling. Gary Jack was in the line. And finally, Michael O'Connor. He's taught England as a wallaby before, but his first touch as a Kangaroo, he crosses for Australia's first try of the Kangaroo Tour.
Gary Jack certainly put a bit of penetration in that back line by coming in. Found Michael O'Connor out wide, and you know Michael, as we know, is a class player and proved dividends scoring a 4-pointer.
Well, O'Connor in fact brought up his century of points in the match against New Guinea last weekend. Took his tally to 108. It is now 112. As I mentioned, 13 rugby tests for Australia. He's now played in 4 in the green and gold of the Australian Rugby League side. And what a great confidence booster in his first match on English soil. A chance now to convert his own try from touch. But it's waved away. And so after 5 minutes of play in this first half, here at Central Park, Australia lead Wigan by 4 points to 0. Well, we mentioned earlier your Balmain teammate, Benny, Gary Jack. Surprisingly, even though he's played 10 test matches, this is the first time that he's trotted onto English soil. His first run, he made a good 20 metres and then brilliantly came into the line to set that try up.
Yes, I think Gary thrives on these type of on the gaps out wide and takes full advantage of the situation.
There goes big crusher Cleal. They'll remember him from the witness days. He's just bumped through 2 tackles before he was taken by Lydon. There's Sirinen playing for a test spot here this afternoon. Simmons into dummy half, out to Sterling, to Lewis, over the top of Miles, a bad pass for Kenny, and beautifully picked up by Les Kiss. Well, 1 or 2 knees went in there too, which Kiss didn't really like. He's welcome to Central Park. Here's Gene Miles. And this Wigan defence will have to move up quickly to stop the free-running Australians. Simmons, out to Sterling. There's the kick over the top again. Nicely taken by Hampson. And over the top went Sirinen. So Wigan really with the ball for the first time in this match. And that's Goodway. Takes play to about 10 metres short of halfway. Good defence by Niebling. Roberts, he'll get a welcome from Simmons, and he does. So Martin Dermott slips into dummy half, looking for Case. Cuts Case out, got it away to Graham West. Lewis came over the top with Roach and Sterling underneath. Dermott again, out for Edwards. Sean Edwards, in fact, was the youngest player ever to play in a cup final at Wembley when he played fullback against Hull back in 1985, when Brett Kenny had that outstanding match, piloting Wigan to that tremendous victory. Back to the safe hands of Michael O'Connor. He takes it up over the 22, found Jack in support, he beat 1. Now to Brett Kenny. And Goodway comes across to make sure he goes to ground.
I think the Australians are going to find that the Wigan side will be get caught short out wide a fair bit because, you know, as they're throwing the ball around, they've found a lot of gaps. Sterling,
Roach, taken by West, wrestled to the ground inside Wigan's end of Central Park. Australia lead by 4 points to 0, and you're watching the match live here on Network 10 around Australia as Cleal goes the blind side. Bumps out of 1, lob the pass, and it's taken by Case, but Sirinen goes straight over the top again and makes sure he goes to ground about a metre short of the halfway line. Out it goes now, picked up by Dermott. but Australia's defence is solid. He's met by his opposite number, Roy Simmons. So Wigan in possession now. Three-man tackle on Goodway. Michael Ford. Charged down that time by Simmons. Knocked on by Brian Niebling. So Wigan just camped outside their 22. That's the fullback Hampson. And Dean Bell in support. It's Bell with the ball now with the wraparound with Ford. Or he runs straight into Niebling. Martin Dermott, who made his debut as a halfback in 1985 with Wigan, came into the Wigan side as a hooker when there was an injury crisis and has held his place in the side ever since. He's marked here in English football as one of the real stars of the future. There's big Graham West. Isn't the crowd warm to that, Benny?
Yeah, I think the referee's playing to the crowd.
So who's being called out? It looks like Brian Niebling. Also with skipper Wally Lewis. And referee John Holsworth having a bit of a chat to the Redcliffe prop forward from Brisbane.
It's going to be very hard for the referee not to respond to the big crowd here today, because any small thing that does go Wigan's way, the referee will certainly respond.
Well, our viewers in Australia have been robbed the chance in this early part of the tour of seeing the great Ellery Hanley in action. He was a late withdrawal, as I mentioned, from this side. But no doubt we'll see him in action in the first Test match at Old Trafford, which you'll also see live here on Channel 10, and that's just 2 weeks from now. In fact, the 5th game on the Kangaroo Tour of 1986. Roberts. Good defence by Australia. Bobby Lindner was the man that affected it. Edwards. Case. Taken by Simmons and Roach. Simmons, in fact, Bob Lindner was the man that came over the top. Dermott. Out to Ford. There's a little kick for touch. Rolling end on end, and that's a brilliant kick. A great kick from the little halfback who came into this side just moments before kick-off. But he's been a regular player in the Wigan side over the last couple of years, and he won't be overawed by their performance, by his performance out there this afternoon. So Sterling, Lindner, wrestled towards the touchline, commentary side of Central Park. 10 minutes gone in this opening match of the 86th tour. Siranen. So they've marked him for special attention, Benny. It's his debut match. He's a big man, 6'5" and 16 stone.
Yeah, he's certainly got a lot of publicity over the last week here, so they're going to be very conscious of him.
Picked up by Edwards, and in turn picked up by Gene Miles. Goodway. Forward. Goodway. The referee says play on. Picked up by Gary Jack, who slipped at his in goal. Beats Roberts easily. Gary Jack, I think you'll find, Benny, is going to be one of the real stars of this Kangaroo Tour.
I'll agree with you there.
Roy Simmons cut out Lewis and gave it to big Steve Roach. He gave the don't argue to Andy Goodway. And play just outside the 22 at Australia's end of the ground. They lead by 4 points to 0. Peter Sterling, his kick for touch, finds it beautifully, 10 metres short of the 22, and so Australia swing back into attack as the sun finally peeps through here at Central Park.
Very fortunate with the Australian side with two great kickers in Wally Lewis and Peter Sterling, so they've got the options either way.
So the scrum to pack down, fed by Ford. We're going to have to get used to the signals of the Great Britain referees to start with, as that's the scrum winner gets ahead. Lewis, Miles. Kenny picked it up beautifully and taken in the tackle by Ian Roberts. Pushed out of the way by Les Kiss. So Australia, a chance to stretch Wigan on the far side. What's needed here is quick ball, the cut-out pass. Miles left it behind, but it was picked up by Gary Jack. But the referee has detected a knock-on, and the third scrum of the match will pack down on the far side. So Wigan leading the penalties, 2-1. Australia just one scrum against the feed and have won the other two scrums with their feed. Michael Ford to feed it now for Wigan. And a penalty against gets forward for, and a bit of back chat, earns Australia another 10 metres. And I think it was against the captain, Graham West. So Wally Lewis is the man that will look for touch, driving it into the crowd. And can we see a possibility of a set move here, Benny?
Well, they've been practicing a few moves throughout the week, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something coming down the blind side.
Roach headlong into his opposite number, Graham West. Battle of the big men out there, West and Roach. Probably only contested by Siren as two of the biggest men on the field. The referee has ruled a knock on.
Yes, well, we've got to be very careful of that. We've got to make sure that we play the ball properly, because the Englishman will take full advantage of the situation.
Wigan come away with it, just 12 metres out in front of their own goalpost. Here's Ian Roberts. Australia's defences look very impressive in the opening 12 minutes of this first half. Here's Case. He also played in the cup final at Wembley in '85. One of the few survivors, in fact, from that cup-winning side. Australians will remember that Brett Kenny and also John Ferguson were members of the side and came away with the cup winners' medal. O'Connor, well, that's poor defence by Wigan. Simmons, that's where we'll see him work away today. Got the pass away to O'Connor. A long pass over the top to Jack. And that's good defence. Tremendous defence that time by young Edwards. Here's Sirenen on the blind side. Oh, gee, that was a solid contest with Goodway. And already Paul Sirenen's making his impact on the English crowd.
Sure is.
Wally Lewis, beautiful pass. Running off him was his Queensland teammate Bob Lindner. 4-0 to Australia in the opening match of the Kangaroo Tour. There's Brett Kenny, a sight all too familiar for the Wigan fans. He certainly is a favourite here at Central Park. So another scrum to pack down. Australia opening the scoring in the 4th minute. The first time that Michael O'Connor touched the ball on the English tour, he flashed over in the corner for Australia's first try. This time, penalty going to Wigan.
Geez, we're going to have some fun with these signals, I think, Dave.
I think he might have suggested that Royce had the feet across the tunnel on that occasion. In fact, talking about referees, Billy Thompson, who refereed the World Cup in 1977 in Australia and also the State of Origin matches in 1982, was guest speaker at the pre-match lunch today. In fact, it's Billy's testimonial year here. The first referee in England, Benny, to be awarded a testimonial year.
There's something in it.
So Wigan with Potter. And again, good defence. Roach over the top. Niebling was the man that went low. Here's the crisscross with Ford out to Graham West. Lewis, Cleo and Niebling again affecting the tackle. West to his feet. Ford runs from dummy half. Goodway popped it over the top. Well, I suppose Andy Goodway, Benny, would be another that would be out to prove a point.
Yeah, he's going to be very dangerous. He has to be very carefully watched by us, our blokes.
I think he felt he was a little bit shabbily treated at Manly when he was out there.
Yeah, it was
the role that he played with the Manly club. I think he might be out to prove a point there today, and for Australia's hope and sake, let's hope that he can't really do the job out there today.
Yeah.
Former England captain. Wally Lewis, Miles. Beautiful pass for Kenny. But Dean Bell came in, picked up nicely by Lewis, supported Miles, and there's a punch up between Kenny and Dean Bell. Les Kiss comes in. The touch judge in from the commentary side of Central Park. The referee came in very quickly to act on that. Dean Bell points the finger again and said, I know what that's all about. And Brett Kenny is the man that's being called out. Well, I suppose it's only natural that they would try and upset Brett Kenny on his return to Central Park, Benny, but yeah. I think he's too experienced to be worried too much about that.
Well, as we all know, all the Australian people back at home, they all know that Brett Kenny's not one of those type of people that like to flare up and get involved in those type of situations. He's too much of a good footballer to get sucked into that type of stuff.
So no penalty, a scrum will pack down. Australia in the lead by 4-0. You're watching the action live here on Channel 10 around Australia from Central Park in Wigan. Ball through the tunnel. Another scrum to pack down. It's to be fed by the young Wigan halfback, Michael Ford, former Great Britain Colts player. Cut out Edwards. Oh, that's a great run by Stevenson and good defence by Australia. It was Gene Miles. Ford out to Edwards. Fullback Hampson in the line. Bell, and he's well taken by Michael O'Connor. Hampson. So a chance now for Wigan to show their wares in Australia's half. That's Case. Stood in the tackle, got it for Roberts. Out to West. Popped it up again. Roberts, Potter. Stevenson and to Lydon. But Kenny was the man. There's Henderson Gill, first touch. Slightly driven to the ground. They call him Mr. Entertainment here at Central Park, and I think we just saw the reason why. There's the big one. Gary Jack takes it magnificently. Well, I thought Gary Jack may have got a penalty for being taken out without the ball, but even at the second touch, he pulled it back in safely for Australia. Lewis driving play deep. Back goes Steve Hampson. There's Kiss and O'Connor, the two wingers coming up to put pressure on the fullback. Kick straight upfield. Now Gary Jack. Well, the good old-fashioned kicking duel. Hampson has the disadvantage of the sun. Oh, look at this. Good way. Oh, he's broken the line. Edwards, all driven to the ground by Needling. Gee, that could have been dangerous, Benny.
Very dangerous.
Dean Bell.
This Wigan side don't mind throwing the ball around.
Well, I think that might be the influence of Graham Lowe. Pace. Potter. Lydon. Lost the ball. Picked up by Henderson Gill, but the referee will have no alternative than to play the double knock-on. Get over these English referees. They really love to demonstrate their signals. So a chance now for Wigan to launch an attack. 20 minutes gone, first half. There's Case, runs into Cleal, got the pass away. That's Dermot the hooker, wrestled to the ground. Just for those viewers back in Australia that may be confused with the numbering, of course under the English and international rulings, the forwards number backwards. We've got the front row of 8, 9 and 10. The second row is of 10 and 11. Of 11 and 12. And of course the lock forward wears number 13. In this case, Andy Goodway of Wigan and Bob Lidner wearing number 13 for Australia. So a penalty and a chance for Henderson Gill. His second attempt of a penalty goal in this match so far. Unsuccessful with the first one. And a chance now to bring Wigan back to just 2 points behind Australia, who currently lead by 4 points to 0.
Penalties now 5-2. But just interesting note, Ian Roberts has seemed to be getting through a heap of defence and at the same time taking the ball up a lot. So I think he's a big asset to the Wigan side.
He came on after 8 minutes in that Cup semi-final the other day, and an incredible 59 tackles match for the Wigan side in his debut for the Cherry and Whites. But now Henderson Gill, ball placed from the 22. That looks good. The crowd tell the story, and it's 4-2 in favour of Australia. 22 minutes of play gone, first half at Central Park in Wigan.
Scorer for Wigan, Henderson Gill.
Well, traditionally, Benny, I look back through the record books, 13-9, Australia really struggled in the that undefeated tour against Wigan. Back in 1978, though, of course, 28 points to 2, Australia won that, and that's probably one of the most convincing margins. There's been some very, very tight matches here at Central Park in the 16 visits by the Kangaroos.
That just exemplifies the strong side Wigan is.
There's the kick to the centre of the ground. Brett Kenny's getting underneath it for Australia and takes it beautifully. Play in centre field. Midway between the half and the 22 at Wigan's end of the ground. Gary Jack through the dummy. stood in the tackle and unloaded it to Gene Miles. But Dermott, the hooker for Wigan, came over the top to stop his progress. O'Connor now for Sterling and in turn for Niebling. Simmons threw the dummy to Cleal, gave it to Lewis. And that's good defence by Wigan. Roy Simmons again working from dummy half for Sterling. There's the little kick through. That's something that we'll see a lot on this tour by Sterling. But the fullback Hampson allows play to go, the ball to go dead in goal, and play in fact will come back to the 22 with Australia leading by 4 points to 2. Quick tap taken. Stevenson, in fact it's a good way to his feet. Roberts loses it, dived on by Simmons.
Yeah, a little look then.
Yes, he had a look at the advancing Australian defence, paid the penalty as Lewis with that customary long pass for Miles. Jack, beautifully in the line again. The pass looked as though it went forward. The referee is playing advantage. And it's Hampson. Finally runs to the line of Australia's green and gold defence. That was good refereeing that time by Holsworth.
Well played the advantage.
Now a chance. Good way. Runs square on the 22. Taken by Lindner. That's Edwards. But Roy Simmons was the man that wrapped him up. Potter for Case. And the former England prop forward goes to ground about 10 metres out from his own 22. It's Australia in the lead 4-2. Roberts taken high by Simmons and also by Sirinen. Dermott into dummy half. Forward. The kick for touch. Kiss knocks it back. Picked up by Gary Jack with room to move. That's good defence against Sterling, and Australia going backwards. Lewis. Ooh, and a swinging arm. And a penalty against Stevenson. Oh, Lewis is into it. So too is Gene Miles. Well, the swinging arm, Benny, was the one that caused that. Wally Lewis reacted to it.
He sure was. The penalty was given straight away to Australia, and that should have been where it stopped, but Wally went on with it.
And I tell you what, I think Wally made pretty fair contact with the juror Stevenson as well. And what's this one come? No, I don't think Gene Miles came in as well. And Dean Bell. So this is the second flare-up we've seen. Goodway is the man being called out. But I think, in fact, it was Stevenson, the man with the swinging arm. So the touch judge on that far side has picked up number 13 instead of number 3. And Andy Goodway is probably wondering why he earned the ire of the referee. It'd be nice and dirty, Benny, if he got sent off, wouldn't you? So Wally Lewis. Let's see if he can drive the right leg as well as the right foot. He does, in fact. Takes play deep inside Wigan's end of the ground. That's a superb kick from the Australian captain. As we see, Betty, for the first time today, the sun really shining here at Wigan. Ideal conditions for the opening of this Kangaroo tour. Lewis, Miles. Now that may have been a shepherd, or as they call it, obstruction over here, if that happened to be in Australia. But now the tempers are flared again. Sirinen gives the disapproving look to Potter.
I think it was a shepherd, David. But it sure is a picture. The sun shining, the ground in perfect condition, the capacity crowd.
And the atmosphere of the crowd.
The atmosphere is electrifying.
So, Wigan, 6 penalties to Australia's 3, but Australia lead the ball game 4-2. Crusher Cleal, good defence around the legs of Case. That's left behind by the young hooker Dermott. And the referee has no alternative but to pack the scrum down. Well, I think if young Dermott had gone on with that one against Crusher Cleal, it would be a case of getting ambitions mixed up with capabilities. But I tell you what, there's no lacking in ability as far as this Wigan defence is concerned, which has often been noted for not being all that strong. But they've impressed me so far,
They sure have. They're playing with a lot of enthusiasm and just keeping them in the game at the moment.
Niebling ran straight to Edwards and also to Roberts. And that's Simmons. Roach. Well, how do you think Big Roach is going to enjoy the heavy grounds over here, Benny?
I think he'll go well. He's a very fit person, and he loves these rugged conditions.
Miles showed the ball. Knock on by O'Connor. And over the touchline again. Well, the referee should act on that. There was absolutely no need for that. The whistle had gone. Knock on had been ruled. And Michael O'Connor was absolutely picked up and driven over that far touchline.
This Wigan side's really making sure that, that they're letting the Australians know that they're out there to play a game.
It's a Wigan ball. Sterling wraps up his opposite number forward. Hampson. Good way for Roberts. Bone-jarring tackle from Lewis. Martin Dermott. Lydon. There's Kiss retreats for Australia. Hasn't seen a lot of work so far on the right wing, but that's a superb tackle from the young halfback forward. Simmons. Michael O'Connor coming in from the left wing to relieve a bit of the pressure on the Australians, who look a little bit of 6s and 7s at the moment. They'll probably take it through Sterling this time. That they do to Lewis. Good pass for Kenny. Kenny's in the clear. Support of Miles. But Graham West with a great tackle. Crusher Cleal down the blind side. Runs to Henderson Gill and also to Joe Lydon. So will Australia spin it? Lewis, long pass. Sterling, the kick in the air. Oh, beautifully taken. Won by the fullback Henson, and secondly by Michael O'Connor with a superb tackle.
That's great football, that. Great take and great defence. I think he's arguing about the 25 tap.
Just watch the way O'Connor arrives. Hampson doesn't take his eye off the ball, but what a great tackle.
Great tackle. I think he's asking for the advantage of 25 tap.
Well, he didn't get it, and Australia are back in possession of the ball inside Wigan's 22. Simmons, now for Sterling. The wraparound with Simmons. Cleal stood in the tackle. Niebling a yard short of the Wigan line. Now this will really test the Wigan defence. Simmons, now Sterling. Lewis. Sirinen. Great strength by Paul Sirinen. Gary Jack on the blind side. They've got Wigan stretched on the blind if they go.
Very short on the blind.
They come the other way with Niebling. Final tackle for Australia. Watch for the Lewis or Sterling rubber. Lewis. Long pass. Picked up by G. Miles. Kenny. Kenny. Sterling. Try by Australia. Will he get it down? He's awarded it. Peter Sterling scores Australia's second try to put them in the lead by 8 points to 2. And the try came right on the 30-minute mark. It was Lewis. The pass went astray. It was beautifully picked up here by Gene Miles. Now watch the support play of Kenny, looking for his Parramatta teammate Peter Sterling. He takes on Henderson Gill on the pivot, and the referee says that the ball was fairly placed, and Peter Sterling scores Australia's second try. 8 points to 2 in favour of the Kangaroos. And so Michael O'Connor, kicking from, fair to say, Benny, not his most popular side, with and around the corner kicker.
No, but I've seen him doing a lot of practicing and training, and he's been kicking them well. So let's hope he takes it out here.
So O'Connor has missed with his only previous attempt. That, in fact, was to convert his own try after 5 minutes of play of this first half. O'Connor. It looks good. Up go the flags. 10-0, 10-2 Australia over Wigan. 31 minutes of play gone in this first half. Well, they say the final 10 minutes of the first half is always vital. Just wonder how much Wigan will be starting to panic a little bit now, Benny, because the Australians do look as though they're starting to fall into a fair bit of rhythm.
They are starting to get into their pattern, and it looks very dangerous for Wigan.
Gary Jack running it out towards his 22, runs to Goodway. He's well taken in the tackle, and Potter was also in there to lend assistance. Roach. Three-man tackle by Wigan. Over the top was Roberts. Simmons from dummy half. Cleal was looming in support, but Simmons was well and truly wrapped up by Ian Roberts. Sterling. Henderson Gill retreats. Now Gill with a bit of room. What will he do? Well, he beat Les Kiss. He beat him the second time. But he won't beat the horse, Brian Niebling. Goodway. Hampson, the fullback. I think the crowd told the story there. Dermott, Graham West, met by Siren in a good tackle by the Balmain second rower, making his debut on this Australian tour. He came on as a replacement against New Guinea last week as Stevenson gets away to Dean Bell on the right wing. It's 10-2 to Australia. 34 minutes of play gone first half. Picked up by Brian Case with a rebound off an Australian. But he's lost it, and that player was offside, but the referee said play on. And in fact has given Wigan 6 more tackles. Dermott, Ian Roberts. West, knocked on by Lydon. And the referee was on the spot to detect it.
I think the difference in fitness is going to tell here, Dave. I think the Australians are a lot more fit than the Englishmen, and I think the difference will really show in the score in the time to come.
Well, Benny, I was at training on, when was it, Thursday, when the Australian backs looked really sharp indeed.
Yeah. And
obviously well and truly over any form of jet lag. So Edwards finds the fullback in support of Hampson, driven back by Wally Lewis, the Australian captain. So play inside the 22 at Wigan's end of the ground. Edwards got it to Roberts, taken by Cleal and upended with the help of Simmons. There's a fair bit of feeling in this match so far as Graham West takes it up, the Wigan captain, who will lead the Wigan side next weekend against Oldham, the final of the Lancashire Cup. The Yorkshire Cup was won yesterday when Castleford defeated the Hull side. And that match was played at Headingley as Gary Jack weaves away again. Gee, that was good defence by Potter. And also by Goodway. Bobby Lindner runs from dummy half. Made a good, valuable 5 or 6 metres before he was taken to ground. Simmons cuts out Sterling and gave it to Niebling. And I just feel, Benny, that the holes are starting to open in this Wigan defence.
Especially up in the middle of the rucks. I think there's a lot of holes starting to creep in there, and Bobby Lindner just showed that there's easy yards to be made.
Here goes Crusher Cleal. Cleal for the line, but he's taken a yard short as Wally Lewis shakes his head in disappointment. Cleal to his feet. Through he goes. Ray Price fashion, try.
To try.
Noel Cleal scores Australia's 3rd try. As I mentioned, certainly you can say it was a replica of Ray Price. Noel Cleal puts Australia further in the lead.
Well, as we were saying earlier, the fitness is going to tell, and it's starting to show now.
And also those holes, there was an enormous gap that opened up. It's 14-2 in favour of Australia, 35 minutes of play gone. And I would doubt very much, Benny, if Michael O'Connor would get too many easier kicks than this on the Kangaroo Tour of 1986.
He's hoping he gets a lot more.
So the crowd hushed at Central Park as Michael O'Connor raises the flags to make it 2 from 3. 16 points to 2 in favour of the Winfield Kangaroos. So I'll be interested to know what thoughts are going through Graham Lowe's mind at the moment. The Australians defeated New Zealand when Lowe was in charge of that side. He got the axe straight after that, Benny, and I think he had a point to prove today against the Kangaroos that this Wigan side may have been up to the task of at least holding the tourists in the first match of the tour.
He must be wondering what he has to do to beat the Australians, Graham Lowe.
Well, Bobby Lindner's down injured. He seems to have a whack in the head. I think he's bleeding quite profusely there, is he? He's got a whack. He looks pretty groggy too. But more importantly, back to the football at the moment. Gee, that'll be a cruel blow for the young Queensland lock if he's been injured in this first match.
He doesn't look good at all.
He missed the New Zealand tour through injury in 1985. And today he pulled on the Australian jumper for only the second time. So Australia playing a man short at the moment.
No, he doesn't look good at all.
Laurie Britton's out there, the trainer of the Australian side. But Lindner's straight back into the fray. Wigan ball, Lydon. Beautiful break by Lydon and a good covering tackle by Lewis. And finally it was Jack the man that wrapped him up completely. Hampson, forward. Wigan on the attack, inspired by that try by Cleal. They're trying to get back into this game with 3 minutes left in the first half. Wally Lewis is down injured. Also a cut on the head as Roberts takes it up. So the Australian trainer, Laurie Britton, working overtime as the penalty goes against Australia. Watch for the quick tap from Goodway. But they're calling now Henderson Gill across from the left wing. I think it'll take more than a bit of a cut on the head to stop Wally Lewis today, Benny, won't it?
Oh, I'm sure it will. Same too with Bobby Lindner.
So Henderson Gill has kicked 1 goal from his 2 attempts so far in this match. In fact, the only points on the board for Wigan have come through the left boot of Henderson Gill. We're into the final 2 minutes of the first half. And Gill with the ball placed about 12 metres in from the far touchline. He struck it nicely. It hit the post. Gary Jack. In fact, it's Peter Sterling saves the day. No change to the scoreline. It's 16 points to 2 in favour of the Kangaroos. And we're into the final minute of this first half. Australia has scored 3 tries to 0. Tries to O'Connor, Sterling and Cleal. Michael O'Connor has kicked 2 goals from 3 attempts. And the only points for Wigan come from Henderson Gill, who's now kicked 2 from 3. Big crusher Cleal. Brett Kenny, ankle tap by the hooker Dermott. That would have been shut the gate if Brett Kenny had seen daylight then. Gene Miles has spotted daylight. No support. And that's a good tackle by the fullback Hampson. That wouldn't be a very pleasant sight. Gene Miles at full ball. Wally Lewis. Kenny stepped beautifully. So the changeover.
We were saying the gaps in the middle are starting to open up.
Gene Miles made full effect of that one a moment ago. Goodway. Ian Roberts. And that's the half-time hooter. So the scoreline at Central Park at Wigan. Australia lead by 16 points to 2. There's an injured player on the field. It appears to be Ian Roberts. We're just running through the scorers in the first half. We've had tries to Australia by Michael O'Connor, Peter Sterling and Noel Cleal. Michael O'Connor has kicked 2 goals from 3 attempts. And for Wigan, Henderson Gill with the only points, 2 goals from 3 attempts. Half-time scoreline, 16 points to 2. You're watching the match live on Network 10 Australia. Where's Lindner? Just having a look, mate. I can't see Bobby Lindner. Where's Bobby?
Hasn't come out, but he hasn't been replaced.
He hasn't come out, but he hasn't been replaced. No changes. No changes to their side, by the look of it.
No.
Yes, mate.
Still no Bobby Lindner.
6, 12.
Roberts doesn't look like he's going to be stricken down and go out.
the ball. Gary Jack saves the day for Australia. Gee, what a start for Wigan in the second half. Australia were playing a man short. Bobby Lindner has just come onto the field. He didn't start the second half, but he's now back, so Australia back to a full complement. And gee, they nearly needed his cover defence there, Benny.
Well, the Wigan side came out full pelt. They had thrown that ball around their 25 and it proved dividends for them.
So, Wigan on the attack. It's a scrum feed for the Cherry and Whites. It's won by Ford. He's driven to the ground by Sterling. But Wigan in a very good position to attack. Hanson. Great tackle that time by Gary Jack. Dermott goes into dummy half and he finds Roberts running square. And Sirinen and Niebling are the men that put him on the ground. Michael Ford will take it first man off the ruck for Wigan. Stevenson looked for Goodway in support, but once again Australia's defence was equal to the task. Goodway is the man now that slots into dummy half for Wigan. He finds Case. He runs straight to Roach, trying to unload to his skipper West, but can't do so. Final tackle for Wigan. They came out all guns blazing in the second half. Ford with the high ball.
Good bomb.
Les Kiss took it beautifully and driven into touch. So play will come back to the goal line. Wally Lewis is saying, let's take it out to the 22. Gee, it was a good take under pressure, Benny.
Yeah, very good. I don't think it must be an international rule to restart the game at 25.
Well, the Australians are querying it, aren't they? It's something that obviously will have to be clarified as these matches go on.
Yeah.
Because in Sydney, we would have restarted at the 22. Here's Henderson Gill again.
The crowd love this man, don't they?
Well, they also loved him at Redfern Oval when he was there with the South Sydney side last year. I remember a fabulous try he scored in one of the early Monday night football games at the Sydney Cricket Ground. He scored a screamer in the Cup final at Wembley, and so far he's scored something like 10 tries in 9 matches for Wigan this year. Knocked back by Goodway. Lewis lines him up and puts him to ground. So 3 minutes of play gone, second half. No change to the half-time scoreline. The Winfield Kangaroos lead by 16 points to 2. There's the kick from Lydon. Gee, that's a superb kick. Great kick. Well, you can see the value of the £100,000 sterling sign-on from Widnes. Former Wigan junior, though, so in fact, by coming from Widnes back to Wigan, he's back to Central Park where he hailed from originally. Sterling with the scrum feed. The referee wasn't happy, and I don't think the 30,000 fans at Central Park were either.
Wigan really putting the pressure on the Australian side here early in the second half.
And a penalty to Sterling, feeding the second row. Reluctant to give the ball to Ford. They're away. Onwards. Stevenson. Oh,
great.
What a tackle from Brett Kenny. His old teammate wrestled to the ground. Henderson Gill. Gill. Poor pass. Beautifully picked up, though. Gee, Henderson Gill, how do you mark a man like that, Ben? He's totally unorthodox. Roberts. Oh, he gets a pretty good welcome from Roachie. Dermott. Case. Oh, he had a quick look too. Picked up by Simmons and now Gary Jack. Fed O'Connor. The pass looked forward. In fact, O'Connor looked offside. But the referee has ruled only a forward pass and will bring play back for the scrum. So the pressure's still on Australia in the opening 5 minutes of the second half. That's young Michael Ford. Comes around to work the scrum for Wigan. They've won it. He's under pressure. He got it to Edwards. Beats Lewis. I just wonder how much this Wigan side are really missing Ellery Hanley out there this afternoon. But Edwards has fitted in quite admirably. He's a great versatile player, Edwards. He's played fullback and halfback this year. And now filling in at 5/8 for the injured Ellery Hanley. Forward. Picked up by West. But the cover is there through Lindner.
The ball went forward there, I think.
Scrum to back down. Graham West shows his disgust. So the scrum to pack down. It's an Australian feed. 10 metres out, right under their own goal line. They lead by 16 points to 2. Sterling, Gary Jack beat them first line. Gee, Brian Case got out of that scrum quickly in cover. Les Kiss running from dummy half. And Hampson was the man that put him on the ground. Sirenen. Oh, beautiful pass, but it wasn't picked up. And in fact, Wigan, no, they haven't come up with it. So it's still an Australian ball. Niebling. Head down. Runs to Robert. 10 metres short of halfway. Australia in possession in their own half. Simmons to Lewis. Quick wrap around with Simmons. There's the gap. Roy Simmons in the clear. Gee, that could have been a penalty that went to Australia, because certainly Bob Lindner was interfered with by the Wigan defence as Simmons made the break. Lewis, Miles, his teammate from Queensland, Lindner. Lindner for Lewis. Lewis for the line. That's a Queensland back up. The referee's over. Has he awarded the try? It's a try to Wally Lewis.
He's done a great handling.
Well, the Queenslanders combining Lindner, Miles and Wally Lewis. And Wally Lewis scores Australia's 4th try. They lead now by 20 points to 2. Here it comes, Benny. Miles and then Lindner. And what's the support play of Wally Lewis? Edwards got to him, but the power and strength of the Australian skipper sees him go over, which only just beat referee John Holsworth, who also ended up on his derriere.
I could just see all those Parramatta supporters back at home with a big smile on their face, knowing that Bobby Lindner will be coming to their club next year, and just showed there that when he injects himself out wide, he looks very dangerous.
So Australia, despite being under pressure in the first 5 minutes of this second half, opened the scoring in the 7th minute with a try through their skipper Wally Lewis. It's 20 points to 2. 7 minutes gone second half, and a chance for Michael O'Connor to put the Kangaroos even further ahead.
It must break Wigan's heart to see how they've applied all the pressure early in the first part of the game.
There's the kick, and waved away.
And to see Australia score a try out of nothing, well, it must break their heart.
20 points to 2. The Winfield Kangaroos are in the lead in their opening match of the 1986 Tour of Great Britain and France. So the replacement player for the Wigan side is the former South African Springbok Rugby Union skipper, Robert O, 30 years of age. Peter Sterling. And I'm just trying to pick up, Benny, who Robert Lowe came on to replace. So Simmons into dummy half, Sterling and Lewis, and in turn for Miles. In the line is Kenny. Kenny broke them out wide, but good defence by Lydon. Came over the top and wrapped him up on the halfway line.
I think it's a hooker that's been replaced.
So young Dermott's off the field. And I'd say probably Brian Case is the man that probably will go in and hook. We'll see that, of course, in the next scrum, what happens there. As Peter Sterling angles it for touch. Knocked on by the fullback Hampson. And the scrum will pack down. So a chance now to see who, in fact, will go into the front row. Graham West is there. It appears that Andy Goodway appears to have gone into hooker. Potter has gone back to lock forward, and in fact Robert Lowe is in the second row. That's a knock on by Kenny, and the referee was right on the spot to award that.
Looks like that Les Davidson will be coming on replacing Bob Lindner.
Well, what a tremendous moment for Les Davidson.
And a tremendous game for Bob Lindner.
Bobby Lindner hobbling off. He's had a superb debut in England, Bob Lindner. Had a hand in that final try. And there goes Les Davidson. Tremendous moment in his life, and also for the Davidson family of Dubbo, who no doubt are watching this telecast tonight. double internationals now for their two sons, Larry, of Australian basketball star, and also Les, the South Sydney prop forward, who today makes his Australian debut. So Brian Niebling has moved into lock Australia's scrum. Originally picked as a second rower, made his claim for a spot in the front row in the first test side, and now Benny sees him back in the number 8 position.
Yeah.
Graham West. I don't know whether you agree or not, but Wigan seem to have just slowed to a bit of a walk at the moment.
I don't think they're used to this sun being out. I think their fitness is starting to show.
Line, charge down. Sterling will get the ball. He's dropped it. Gee, he did everything right.
He saw the line before he caught the ball.
Peter Sterling. Well, that would have been an open line for the Parramatta halfback. It was a brilliant bit the way he charged it down.
Yeah.
Now, he knew it was in the air. He knew he was in open space, but he spilled it. 20 points to 2. Australia in the lead. Picked up by Wally Lewis and just driven to the ground. So the little halfback gets to his feet, Michael Ford. Wigan pinned on their own line. Well, we haven't seen the millionaire backline in action, but no doubt the loss of Ellery Hanley so late before kick-off, Benny, has knocked this Wigan side around as well.
I think it would have had a big impact on the Wigan side.
Stevenson tried to take it upfield. Good way. Forward. Little chip over the top. Clever play. Clever play by the Wigan half. Beautiful skills. Oh, this is going to be a great try. Sean Edwards. Dean Bell. Great try. That's a tremendous try. And haven't the Wigan fans gone crazy? I said earlier, the millionaire backline, where is it? And I think it goes down to commentators' last words. That was a superb try, scored by Dean Bell, and absolutely brilliant work by the halfback, Michael Ford.
Yeah, that's a great try.
Here it comes. He did the chip over the top. He didn't panic here. He waited for the bounce. He grubbered it through. He beat Sterling. And this is superb play by Edwards, the way he draws the defence. Dean Bell, the Kiwi winger, looming in support. O'Connor did very well here, Benny.
Very well covered.
But a great try and a good decision.
Yes, well, that's the only way they're going to break through the Australian side is by chipping and doing it.
There's his kick. That looks good off the boot, but it's waved away. So the scoreline at Central Park at Wigan, after that brilliant try by Dean Bell, is Australia 20 lead, Wigan 6.
Well, that's just a good sign to show all the crowd that the Wigan side can play.
Well, they're great appreciation of the game of rugby league, and I'm sure that will give them something at least to smile about on their way home tonight. I know one place where they'll be calling into, Benny, and that's the Griffin Hotel, which is just up the road from Central Park. And earlier today, our executive producer, John Morris, and myself visited the great Billy Boston's Hotel. He can't get down this afternoon to Central Park because business is pretty brisk up there after the match. But for 15 years, he dominated the scene here. He's a great favourite of the Australian crowds, and he sent in particular best wishes to his old mate Duncan Hall and also to Popper Clay. So Popper, we know you've been feeling all that well in Australia, but if you're watching this telecast tonight, the great Wigan winger Billy Boston sends his best wishes as Cleal comes away from the back of the scrum for Australia. 20 points to 6. The Kangaroos in the lead as Davidson goes upfield. Solid defence. And his old teammate Ian Roberts was the first to arrive, Benny.
Yeah.
Lewis, Gene Miles. Oh, that could have easily been intercepted. Brett Kenny. Brett, of course, got the the Lance Todd medal at Wembley in 1985 as the man of the match, and the man that he's marking out there this afternoon, Joe Lydon, received the similar award when Widnes played Wigan in 1984. So two Lance Todd medal winners out there looking straight down at each other in the middle of Central Park today. Australia in the lead by 20 points to 6. 15 minutes of play gone, second half, as Sterling puts the ball up for Henderson Gill. wrapped up by Brett Kenny. Just considering that try that was scored by Dean Bell, in fact, that was on Henderson Gill's wing, Benny, something I didn't realise until just then. So Dean Bell has come from the right wing to try him in and finish off that try. Where was Henderson Gill? Good defence by Australia, pinning Wigan down 10 metres out from their own line. They lead by 20 to 6, 16 minutes gone, second half. Here they go again.
Good tackle.
Joe Lyden, wrapped up by O'Connor. Gee, his defence has really come on in the last couple of years, Michael O'Connor. There's the kick from Edwards. Back to the safe hands of Gary Jack. And the Balmain fullback runs it out towards halfway. Strong run. Oh, he's gone straight up the middle of the defence.
He makes good yardage, doesn't he? From the kick.
We've got a fair bit of distance, though, from Ian Robertson that occasion. There's a penalty. He'll get an award for overacting as well.
I used to stay down there and make as though he was half dead.
I don't think he'll get away with it next time, Ben. Either way, he got up so quickly. Wally Lewis with the kick for touch. He won't fight it. Joe Lyden. Oh, beautiful run. Sterling right around the bootlaces. Good way. Potter. He's upended. Potter is regarded as a certainty to play for Great Britain in the Test matches. Roberts. That pass was forward. Graham West. Edwards. Sean Edwards. Great try. Tremendous try. So the youngster, the 19-year-old, who was originally chosen as halfback, came to play in the 5'8" spot. Look at the crowd, Benny. Do they like that try or not?
Well, they've got a lot to cheer about because there's been two magnificent tries by the Wigan side, and they're really showing what they can really do.
I'll tell you what, tremendous. Just watch this pass, though. This is the one that I thought may have been a bit doubtful. Well, it was marginal.
Have a look at Jack, make sure of his tackle.
Got the tackle, but Edwards, as I mentioned, was the youngest man, or still is, the youngest man ever to appear at Wembley. No doubt will savour that moment. He's been waiting to play against the Australians since he first saw them play in 1978.
Gary Jack's been sent off for 10 minutes from the sin bin.
So Gary Jack,
I think that was for a high tackle.
and a late tackle on Graham West. Gary Jack, 10 minutes in the bin. It's 20 to 10. Henderson Gill makes it 20 to 12. And Benny, with 22 minutes of play remaining, we could have a ball game in our hands.
Well, it's very interesting now with the Australian side down to 12 men. It's going to be interesting to see what they do as their fullback. I think it'll probably be Brett Kangaroo back there.
Well, it was 16-2 at half-time. As the chants go up, Sean Edwards is a man that's injured.
That try certainly spurred on the crowd.
So, 20 points to 12. The Kangaroos in the lead, playing with 12 men, with Jack in the sin bin for 10 minutes.
Well, Les Kiss has gone back to fullback for Gary Jack.
And I can tell you, Benny, we've got a contingent of about 20 pressmen over here. We've got about another 15 with your side that are not playing. So I'd say there's about 29,855 are behind Wigan at the moment. Will they rise to the occasion? Ford, who had a great hand in that first try, and they look good. Henderson Gill, too quick for Cleel. Oh, but Crusher got him with the ankle tap. How valuable might that ankle tap be at the end of the day?
He had a player on the inside of him too.
Wally Lewis, the Australians under pressure, but still moving it. O'Connor. Well, I mentioned earlier, 20 points to 12, the scoreline. I mentioned earlier, Benny, that Wigan looked as though that slowed to a crawl.
Yeah, well, they've certainly got a new lease of life here now. They've got the crowd right behind them, and they're... Tremendous
atmosphere here. Peter Sterling, Gene Miles, Kenny, O'Connor. Beautiful step from O'Connor. Roach, Kiss is there. And Les Kiss will race away, and that really could be the ball game. But what a great try to Australia, and superb finishing by Michael O'Connor before he set his other winger up, Les Kiss, who in fact has chimed in from the fullback position to score.
I have to say that was Michael O'Connor's try.
This is superb. It's a great pass here by Miles and by Kenny, but look at O'Connor. Stepped out, stepped back in again. And Roachy was looming up there hungry. You'll see Roach come into shot in a moment. But Les Kiss, good support play by Roach as well. And Les Kiss scores also in his first appearance in England. So we have a replacement on as well for the Wigan side. Nick DeToita's on. As Michael O'Connor has the ball placed. And so just as Wigan appeared that they had come back into the match, particularly with Australia one man down, the irony, Benny, is that the man hovering at fullback for Australia was the man that came into the line to score the try. So Michael O'Connor, ball placed in front of the posts, up go the flags, and Australia go further into the lead by 24 points to 12.
26 points.
26 points to 12. And we've got 18 minutes of play remaining.
Smart kick-off.
So I wonder how long Jack has in the sin bin. But if Wigan were really going to press a point home, that try against the run of play wasn't the one that they needed. Ian Potter runs determinedly. But some good defence again by Niebling. I've been very impressed with his defensive work. Stevenson. Ford. They're not going to lie down this Wigan side. Bell. DeToit. Henderson Gill. Here he goes again. Ford. Collared by Sheridan. That's West. Case. Hampson.
We've got the numbers.
Long pass. Goodway. Goodway. Picked up by Stevenson. Forward. Supportive. Robert Lyon. Gee, that's great football by Wigan. Forward. Long pass. West. They've got the numbers. Henderson Gill. Henderson Gill. Picked up by Sterling. And driven back over his own goal line. But gee, Wigan won't lie down, Benny.
Geez, that was good football.
And the crowd totally enthused at this Wigan fight back.
I can understand why now that the crowds are coming back and coming in big numbers over in England here because of that exciting type of football that the English people like to play.
Often it's criticised for the lack of defence, but see, they can attack and they play well. So the two South Africans combining there. Ford. Gee, he's grabbed his opportunity as a late replacement today, Benny. He had a hand in that great try, and he's really worked hard today.
Just played well.
Ian Roberts got Case. Roberts went as a decoy. DeToit, gee, he's made an impact in the few minutes he's been on the field as well. Forward. 6 more. Roberts. Dean Bell. The ball's gone forward. So into the final 15 minutes of play in this match from Central Park at Wigan, and Australia lead by 26 points to 12. Scrum packing down inside the 22 at Australia's end of the ground. Work by Peter Sterling, who this year is the vice-captain of the Kangaroo touring party. And that's an interesting move, Benny, when you've got both captain and vice-captain in the backs.
I think Peter Sterling's a great organiser, so I think he deserves a VC behind his name.
There's Davidson. Just a metre short of the quarter line. Simmons for Roach. As the chants come up at Central Park, they sang for half an hour before the match. They were a bit quiet at half-time, but they've come to life again. As you can hear right now, Graham West, Potter, Henderson Gill. Ford, West. Great support play by Wigan. Lydon. Beautifully picked up by Dean Bell. And good defence once again by Brian Neebling. So Wigan still on the attack. Lydon, Case, Roberts, Hampson. Roberts again a dummy half. Forward, through the dummy, and stood Les Kiss up. Hampson. And back goes Cleal in defence.
A smart little play on the blind side.
Clever play by Hampson, a former rugby union player. He really has had a wretched couple of years. He broke his leg, which robbed him of an appearance at Wembley against Widnes in '84. He came back in '85, Benny, and copped a broken jaw.
Jeez.
But people have him as a fringe player for possible selection in the Test match at Old Trafford.
Certainly playing well today.
So Wally Lewis with the dropout from under his own goalposts, taken by Dean Bell. Robert Lowe, the former Springbok captain, takes play inside the 22. Wigan on the attack. Forward, the wraparound again with Stevenson. Over the top for Detroit. Case. And cut short by Kenny. Potter. Roberts. Stevenson is down injured in back play. There's the kick over the top from Lydon. Back goes Lewis in defence for Australia. Oh, and Detroit arrived late. Les Kiss comes in to protect his skipper. Let's have a look at this one again. Lewis really tidied it up nicely. But we'll see, Benny, just if we do get it in a moment, just how late Detroit does arrive. Being cautioned at the moment. There's the kick over the top. Lewis took it. Now watch Detroit. That is late.
That's a late tackle.
That should have been a penalty, and it is. A penalty to Australia.
Gary Jack comes back on after his 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Gene Miles looks for touch. So he takes play about 12 metres out from the Australian line. 12 minutes remaining. Les Davidson saw the gap on the blind side. Simmons, nowhere to go. Ryan Niebling now a dummy half. Roach. Oh, a pass to no one. And it's picked up by Robert Lowe. So that's given Wigan a chance again to launch an attack. And I can tell you they'll want to capture every chance they can get. Dean Bell. Beautiful pass. Superb try to Wigan. Joe Ryan scores the tie.
They've scored some great tries. The crowd have gone berserk.
What a superb try. They've now scored 3, Benny, and they've been absolute gems.
Certainly have scored some tremendous tries. Look at this.
This pass that comes back in field.
Dean Bell.
Dean Bell, it's a great run, and watch the pass, and Lydon calling for it there. Wrong-footed Roach, and away he came around. The crowd erupted when he placed it under the post. And now Henderson Gill. Up go the flags. 26-18 the scoreline.
Well, they're not throwing the towel in, are they?
So Wigan have come back, and the chance come up again. Don't they love their rugby league at Central Park?
Fantastic.
As the kickoff gets play underway again. Hampson. Taken by Kenny. So it's 5 tries to 3. Potter. Stevenson has no one with him. And that should be a Wigan ball. Good advantage. 6 more tackles to go. minutes on in that first half. Just how close this match could have been. That ball's gone forward. And so play will come back to midway between the half and the 22 at Wigan's end of the ground. 9 minutes of play remaining. And it's 26 points to 18. Australia in the lead. They led by 16-2 at half-time. But Wigan, the cherry red and whites, as they call them, or the Riversiders, have come back with a vengeance in the second half.
They've certainly given their crowd a lot to cheer about.
Sterling, Gary Jack, good tackle by Detroit. Michael O'Connor, Australia's left winger, runs from dummy half, unloaded it to Gary Jack. Jack made inroads into the Wigan defence. Now Wally Lewis, back for Roach, runs to Potter. Well, Roach's had a strong game. He's really taken the ball up well for Australia. But that loose pass probably set up that last try for Wigan. It certainly was a contributing factor to it. As Crusher Cleal is taken. It's 8 minutes remaining in this opening match of the Kangaroo Tour. Great pass for Roach. Support of Lewis. Support of Miles, but the pass has gone astray.
Oh, that could have been dangerous.
Well, Henderson Gill would have had the ability to go the length of the field then. But Australia back in possession of the ball. 10 metres out from the Wigan line. Roy Simmons runs from dummy half and gave it to Cleal. It looked forward.
Right.
And the referee agrees. So we're at the 32-minute mark, second half. What a second half this has been.
There's been certainly a lot to cheer about.
Hampson taken by Lewis. And Niebling got out of the back of the scrum very quickly as well. Injured player. It's Hampson, the fullback. Well, Benny, as we look at the position of this match, Australia probably have the game wrapped up. Play goes on. But how impressed have you been by your teammates today? I know it was an important one for the first half.
Well, wait a second.
Touch judges in. Les Davidson. Davidson called out.
There's nothing serious.
I'll tell you the way the touch judge came in, he could easily outdo Henderson Gill with pace. He really came on quickly. Robert Lowe. Great tackle by Sirinen.
Good cover tackle.
Dean Bell. Well, Graham Lowe brought him into the side at the expense of Ray Mort, the South African winger, because of his experience and knowledge of the Australian side. And Dean Bell really has played superb football today.
Put Dean Bell in any one of my sides.
Gary Jack back near his own line. Comes to Bell. Taken by Goodway. That's a bone jarrer. And Gary Jack felt the brunt of it. Well, we accused Gary Jack of overacting a moment ago. I don't think he's overacting here right now. This really is, you can feel it from up here, Benny. So it's 26 points to 18. 16-2 at half-time it was, and Australia appeared as though they had the game well and truly wrapped up. The first 10 minutes afterwards, Benny, the gap started to open in that Wigan defence, and I really thought they were in trouble, but you've got to give them credit.
Oh, you must.
And it's quite understandable why 30,000 people come to watch this side play. So Gary Jack to his feet. Sirinen.
Room to move today, have they?
No, he's been very much a mark player, but he's impressed me. He's taken the ball up strongly. Simmons, his defence has been tremendous.
Oh, terrific. Great cover work too. Terry Lamb coming onto the sideline.
Gene Miles. I'll tell you what, the credit is David Stevenson and Joe Lydon. They really have kept Kenny and Miles pretty well contained out there today. I know Brett Kenny was hoping for a big one, but here he goes. Kenny, beautiful pass. Cleal. Lewis. Picked up by Detroit. Ford. Hampson. And Wigan still full of running. Today's attendance, 30,622. Their big crowd of this year was only a week ago when 28,000 turned up to watch the semi-final of the Lancashire Cup against St Helens. In fact, this is the biggest crowd that has ever watched the Kangaroos here at Central Park. The previous one was Clive Churchill's side back in 1948-49 when Wigan in fact won that match in front of 28,554. So I tend to think this could well be a ground record today, Benny.
I'm sure it'll be very close.
Which is great testimony to the 86 side and full credit to the 82 team who really rejuvenated the interest of rugby league here in Great Britain. And that's just a sign of things to come on this Kangaroo tour. You can expect Benny to play in front of packed houses right around Great Britain.
Sure am looking forward to it, David, I tell you.
So Terry Lamb coming on. With just 3 minutes of play remaining, his right leg heavily strapped. Coming off is Paul Sirenen.
Noel Pearl go back in the second row and Terry Lamb back to the lock, I'd say.
Well, Sirenen, I thought, Benny, we mentioned earlier, a tremendous debut on English soil for the big second row forward.
Yeah,
I don't think he's made too many friends with the crowd. So Kenny and Stevenson having a few words to say out here too. They're probably saying, I'll meet you down at Billy Boston's pub. Two great teammates from 85. DeToit from the back of the scrum for Hanson, the fullback. And he's taken by Terry Lamb in the tackle. So Wigan, will we see the mighty machine attack again as Case charges upfield? There's only 8 points in the match, 3 minutes of play remaining. But a tremendous second half of rugby league. There's DeToit.
This is a strong player, this DeToit.
So too is Lowe. That's him in possession of the ball now. Long pass for West, and in turn for Potter. Henderson Gill. Crusher Cleal affecting the tackle on the man they call Mr. Entertainment. Oh, good. Kenny coming in on Dean Bell. Now Joe Lydon driven to the ground by Terry Lamb.
They refuse to get tackled, these English players. They just want to throw that ball around as much as they can.
Well, there's one in the air. Wally Lewis will be looking straight into the sun, but he took it well. So what an opener to the Kangaroo Tour of 1986. Just a reminder that we're going to be bringing you all the action of the 13 matches of the English leg of this tour. Our next one can be seen next weekend. It's the clash between Australia and Hull Kingston Rovers, and the entire 13 matches come your way here on Network 10. It's an unprecedented coverage by any sporting side that's toured Britain, having every game televised, and it's coming to you courtesy of Network 10 and associated stations right around Australia.
Here they have their last test of attack here.
I'll tell you what, young Michael Ford, we mentioned it earlier, it's been a tremendous display by him today.
That's played well.
And of course, National Panasonic, who have joined us on this telecast to the Winfield Kangaroo Tour of 86, will be giving $5,000 worth of products to the man of the series, the man of the tour, and also a $1,000 cash incentive for the man of the match in each of the 3 test matches. And that's courtesy of National Panasonic. All the proceeds going to the Winfield Kangaroos, who are also joining our involvement on this tour. O'Connor grubbers it into touch as we approach the final minute of this match. And Winfield, of course, are the people that will be giving the $1,000 cash incentive to the player of each test match. The first one coming up in 2 weeks' time at Old Trafford. And after the full time, we'll be going down to the dressing room with Peter Prilingos of the Daily Mirror, talking to the victorious Australians. This could be the last scrum of the match. So 26 points to 18. It appears that Australia are going to open their campaign on a winning note. But they've had a struggle on their hands in the second half, Benny. Here's a go, Hanson. No, he's lost it. No try. Good decision that time by John Holsworth. The young fullback was over the line, but he couldn't get it down. You'll see it coming up here, Benny. O'Connor had him there, but the ball went loose, and the referee was right on the spot to rule no try. The score remains 26 to 18, and it's all over, and the fans come onto the ground. We've got an injured Australian player. Benny, you might try and pick up who that is as I run through the scorers. 16-2 at half-time, Australia led. Tries to O'Connor, Sterling, Cleal, Lewis and Kiss. Michael O'Connor kicked 3 goals for Wigan. All their tries came in the second half.